Hey everyone, on the heels of the video I just did about why Bitcoin will not be outcompeted, it's valuable to understand the concept of the blockchain trilemma. So when the concept of a blockchain was invented by Satoshi Nakamoto, the anonymous creator of Bitcoin, when it was created, it was discovered very quickly that blockchains, of which that is the technology that enables Bitcoin to do what it does, it's called a blockchain, that blockchains have a trilemma. So trilemmas are not new. They exist in a lot of places. You've heard people say you can have something that is high quality, cheap, or fast, but you can only have 2 out of 3, which means you can have it fast and cheap, but it's low quality, even though you want high quality. Or you can have it slow and it's cheap and it's really high quality, but it's not fast. Or you can have it, fast and super high quality, but it's going to be super expensive. Well, blockchain technology works the same way in that you have to choose between 3 things, and you have to choose 2 of those 3 things because you can't have all 3. And those are security, decentralization, and scalability. So when Satoshi invented Bitcoin, he went heavy on security and decentralization because those are the 2 most valuable attributes for a money. And he built it where it could be scaled using things like the Bitcoin Lightning Network for payments and that sort of thing. So what every other person who's come along in the last 16 years after Satoshi Nakamoto has discovered is that Bitcoin exists in this incredible design space that's impossible to one up because the trade-offs you have to make are not worth making, and they're just not trade-offs that people will put up with. So all of the 20,000 cryptocurrencies that have been invented after Bitcoin try to improve on Bitcoin in some way, but in doing so, they make unacceptable trade-offs in either security or decentralization. And nobody's been able to solve that. Again, it's back to the problem of somebody says, well, look, it's easy. Just make it super fast, super cheap, and super high quality for an average product or an average service. And the answer is you can't, because the physics of the universe do not allow something to be cheap and fast and super high quality. Like you just, you got to pick. There's trade-offs to be made. So the blockchain trilemma has faced everyone who's attempted to build a competitor to Bitcoin, and they all have figured out that Bitcoin effectively fits in this beautiful, very narrow design space that it's just impossible to come up with anything that doesn't make an unacceptable trade-off somewhere else. The best example I could think of, just literally off the top of my head in the last minute, is a car, right? Virtually all of the cars you see driving around have 4 wheels. Now, so you can come along and you could say, well, let's do 3 wheels. Well, it turns out a 3-wheeled vehicle is, probably cheaper because there's only 3 wheels instead of 4, but it doesn't have the same stability. So the vast majority of people are not willing to drive a 3-wheeled vehicle around with their family. Now, you could also come along and invent a 5-wheeled vehicle. But again, you're making trade-offs that make it difficult and wonky when you try to turn or you try to steer. And where is the 5th wheel? Is it 1 wheel up front and then 4 in the back? And if so, if the wheel up front pops, then you're really out of luck and you don't have the stability. So as you drive around, virtually all of the vehicles that are just standard vehicles that humans are supposed to drive themselves and their families around, virtually all of them have 4 wheels for a family vehicle. Minivans, trucks, they might double up in the back like Satoshi Nakamoto did on security and decentralization, but they generally have 4 sets of movable parts, whether it's, 4 in the back or 2 in the back or whatever, but it's 4 sets that operate as sort of 4 points at which the vehicle touches the ground. So it's the same way with the blockchain trilemma. If somebody said you got to compete with the average car, and the only thing you can change is the number of wheels, the problem is the average car already has the right number of wheels, which is 4. It touches the ground, whether in sets of wheels or individual wheels, it touches the ground in 4 places. And that is the optimum design space for a vehicle that carries humans, 2 to 4 humans around. So Bitcoin operates very similarly, where if you're going to create a technology that is going to be the future monetary system of the world, and you're faced with the blockchain trilemma of having to make trade-offs between security, decentralization, and scalability, then basically Satoshi Nakamoto nailed the exact perfect sweet spot for the future monetary system of the world. And in 20,000 tries, where somebody has tried to move the sweet spot and say, hey, I've made a trade-off. Maybe it's not as secure as Bitcoin, but it's a little more scalable, or it's a little more this, it's a little more that. Nobody is willing to give up the benefits and upsides that Satoshi invented. And as a result of that, there's just nobody's been able to compete with Bitcoin. So that's called the blockchain trilemma. Good evening, y'all. That is called the blockchain trilemma. Nobody has found a solution for it. By the nature of software and physics, it's like E equals MC squared. Energy equals the mass times speed of light squared. I think that's E equals MC squared. Anyway, you can't break that formula. Let me know if you have questions. Hopefully that helps. Let me know if you have questions. Thanks.